Say it, Luna.
So Animated was a pretty good show, right? That's me genuinely asking. I haven't seen it. I know. I grew up in the prime
Get it, like this guy.
era to experience it, but I never did. I promise I'm getting around to it, just like dieting and exercising and therapy. I wasn't going to get him. I even canceled the pre-orders that I put down for both him and B, because it was either them or my credit score, and for once I chose my credit score. And then I saw them both in Target, and I even had a part in this script about how I may have caved on Prime, but at least I skipped B. But then I went to another Target and I got B. Whatever, impulse controls for the birds. And it's not like I regret buying him, because he's really good. Unlike Prowl, who's honestly a little bit of a travesty. She says, knowing she'll still pick up Chromia the moment she sees her. I think he maintains the animated aesthetic a lot better. He is a little bit stubbier and chunkier, but I don't think it's a bad thing. Maybe a little too bulky, though. It is giving Twink Death. That's a nice face, though. Still has a jawline to rival the Crimson Chin. It manages to have these 3 shades of blue without any of them clashing. It looks really nice. While we're at the head, though, we can talk about my only real complaint with the figure. Luckily, it's just QC, so it's only going to be an issue on my copy, which feels targeted, but you know, got teeny tiny eye boogers. But most of the time you won't even notice the little globs of paint. The rest of him is nice and crispy. The pastels are stunning. Color placement's almost perfect too. In the show, his forearms are totally blue, and here that's only half true, but I'm giving them 100% credit for it because I'm generous and because they didn't have to do it and because I don't really know how fractions work. I think this is a good middle ground to have both modes as accurate as possible, and I doubt you would have noticed if I hadn't pointed it out. You're not always the most observant. And I'm allowed to say that because I thought it was weird that he only had one Autobot symbol on his shoulder, and then I looked up G1 Optimus and it's the same thing. It feels like a Mandela effect, but more likely it's just that I notice nothing and I pay attention to nothing because my brain is too cooked to hold basic information about a franchise I have poured ungodly amounts of money into supporting from pretty much the day the stork dropped me off on my parents' doorstep. Speaking of dense, he's not quite as dense as Thundertron. Check out my review of him if you haven't already. But his plastic still feels sturdy and solid, and that's all that matters in the end.
Prime.
Ooh, Thundertron! Posability is pretty great. He can double fist the axe like me with beers at every church function. There are 2 points on the handle where it locks in for tiny mode or big mode, and the space right here is smaller than 5mm, so you can pretty easily choose which spot you want him to hold it. The locking points are really solid, almost to a fault. It's kind of difficult to get it in and out. Insert joke about intercourse here. Oh, I probably should have finished writing that part. He can manage a pretty nasty axe pose, but only over his head. The mommy milkers kind of get in the way. I think there was also some discourse about how he should have had a faceplate, but one of Animated Optimus's defining characteristics is how much he shows those big kissable lips. When I think of this version of Prime, as I do every Wednesday from 9:46 to 9:48 a.m., I see him showing off the goods. Why do I feel like the Gerwalk mode is giving me bedroom eyes? The transformation is fun, and I'm honestly amazed that after all this time, they're still finding new exciting ways to turn this guy into a truck. After 40 years, I don't even know if I'll still be able to walk with my terrible gamer posture. The cab can take a little bit of pushing and finagling to get together, but once you do, it's seamless. I mean, there are seams, but it's a Transformer. What do you want? You have to admit that looks pretty nice. Hiding the front wheels under the bumper was a stroke of genius. And yeah, it's a little wobbly, and the middle wheels don't quite touch the ground sometimes, but I think we should appreciate a little bit of loving engineering when we get it. He's pretty much perfect from the front, but turning him to the side reveals a little bit of a weak spot. I feel like pretty much every Prime, no matter how good, struggles with the back end, just like your mom. I don't know if I'm numb to it because it happens so much, or if I was never going to care that much in the first place, but this doesn't really bother me. It doesn't affect my enjoyment of the figure. If it affects yours, I won't hold it against you, but I will think less of you. Light bar can be popped off if you want to make the truck look like it's balding. I think they did that so they can mold this in clear plastic while still having this be solid. And I really appreciate it because they could have just molded the entire thing in clear plastic and called it done. And that would have made this another in a long line of figures with crucial hinged pieces made of clear plastic that'll shatter one day. So I really appreciate that they went to the extra trouble of making it 2 pieces, even if the colors don't quite match on the red. Same with the windshield. The bedroom eyes are actually made of clear plastic. Have a heart, it's neat. You can always pop the compressed axe onto the back of the truck bed, you know, if you really want to. If you don't like how that looks, I guess you could put it in a drawer, in your freezer, in your mouth if you want to. Doesn't taste that good. And can I say how refreshing it is to have an Optimus Prime that doesn't come with a matrix of leadership? Like, yeah, boohoo, abundance, but at a certain point, you have more matrices than you know what to do with. I guess it would be matrices if you want to be a total dork about it. Here he is with some other Voyager Optimuses. Optimi, maybe? God, I hate English. Here he is with some original animated toys. Here he is with all his updated buddies, and I hate how good they look because it means I'm gonna buy all of them. Overall, Animated Prime is a real labor of love. He's pretty much kibble-free, he's solid looking, he's solid feeling. smooth. He can strike a mean pose. He has 2 different sets of bedroom eyes. If you want to be nitpicky and pedantic, which I know you do, Jeremy, you could say he's missing some yellow highlights on the chest lights, or that the wheels stick out too much on the outer legs, or that your name isn't Jeremy and he's never coming back and I need to move on. It's been 15 years and he's not coming back. But I really enjoy him. Not quite as much as Bumblebee, but definitely more than Prowl. I think the only thing that's going to detract from my enjoyment of this figure over time is the fact that we're inevitably going to get cooler repaints. We're probably getting a Nemesis Prime and a Toxitron and a Motormaster if they're feeling spicy. Any of those will make this the weakest version of the mold by default, but that's not his fault. They're just cooler. We're really getting spoiled with Optimus Primes lately. I don't think he'll ever have more sex appeal. And I say that as someone who doesn't even have the Studio Series one, or the Rise of the Beasts one, or the Volvo one. I think I'm finally starting to like this guy. I hope he ends up being a popular character someday. And the Voyager class has been absolutely popping off. I assume he slaps. I still haven't opened him yet. Pretty much no misses in the last 6 months. Core or Legends or Scout class or whatever they call it next year will always have a special place in my heart. But Voyager's place is much more important, and it's directly in my mouth.